have like cut off my home internet, and so like my phone hasn't been as present in my life in the last 4 or 5 days, and like it's been really really great. Like I read a book and it was awesome. Like I haven't read a book in forever, mostly because I just tell myself I don't have enough time, but I really do enjoy reading. So just for leisure, and I was able to read a book and put my phone away, and it was really nice.
That sounds like a huge step.
Yeah, it was really good.
Okay. I kind of I was thinking about this in our last session, and I wanted to kind of dive in more to something you had said. So you had mentioned with your heritage, which is First Nations, that you need to suffer in order to get blessings. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to talk a little bit about your family, your heritage, and kind of see where that comes from.
Okay. Yeah, like it's for our culture, that's kind of the way we see things. Like I got into this Facebook war last week, and this person was talking about how we shouldn't get things for free. Like we had a powwow over the weekend. My Aboriginal Community Association, where I volunteer, had a powwow over the weekend, and like the city council said that we shouldn't. Like there was no payment to use this place, this venue, this traditional land of ours that the city technically owns. Before last month, they didn't have any cost associated with it, and people were telling our association, like, yes, you can use the land. And so last month they said, actually, we're going to charge you about $450 to use this place. And the chair had talked about it being like, this is not in the spirit of reconciliation. And so I posted it, and I was like, I stand behind her 100%. I'm so glad she like stood up. She was courageous enough to stand up and say, like, this isn't consistent with reconciliation in any way. And so like this guy came in and like started attacking me and like being like, or you're no different than anyone else, so you should have to pay or you should pay expenses just like everyone else. And like the ultimate bottom line for us is that we've already paid for that in like the suffering of our people, and we shouldn't have to continue to pay in colonial terms for access to our traditional lands. And that kind of speaks volumes to also the way that we see our suffer is payment. Suffering is a price that we have paid, and it's not maybe in terms of like colonial understanding of how we as Aboriginal or colonial people don't understand that like personal suffering or community suffering is a type of payment. So that's how I see the world. Like that's part of one of my worldviews, is that like physical, mental, emotional suffering are all ways that we are paying for better things, and so or the payment. So that's kind of like a fundamental, or that's like a bottom line kind of thing for me.
Yeah. And raised this way by your parents?
Yeah, my parents, we always went to ceremonies, and my dad was particularly like we do things, some really really traditional activities, ceremonies that are particularly about suffering. So like fasting and things like that is a huge part of like my upbringing. And we suffer the body so that we can receive blessings and stuff from the creator. And so I guess when it comes to working and being busy and doing everything that I do, it's like almost this, like you have to be so self-disciplined and so busy all the time in order in order to get the things that you want.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you really internalized the idea of like suffering for blessings. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something that like I really wish that, well, no, I don't really wish that it would like be different, but like I wish that I could also adopt a little bit more of like it's okay to relax mentality, or it's like you don't have to like be miserable all the time to have good things, and to enjoy the things that I have had, or I have, and that I worked really hard for.
Mm-hmm. In your childhood, like, was there downtime? Was there relaxing? Did your parents ever relax, or did that exist?
Yeah, yeah, we there was a lot of like we lived well because we didn't see like currency like or like currency as our main like the everything about success and whatever. We would like go out for supper all the time. We would go do things like as a family, activities, because as soon as like my dad would get money, particularly, he would like spend it and on us and like treating us. And it was like we were never like really hard up or anything because both my parents worked, but it was just, yeah, like we had a lot of fun too.
Are your parents very self-disciplined?
I would say my mother is. My dad, he passed away last year. But there were some aspects of him that were very self-disciplined. He was a really hardworking person, and I think I got both my work ethic from him and my mom, but particularly him. Um, he had a disability. Um, he had polio when he was a baby, so he walked with a limp that was very pronounced. I didn't notice it until like I saw a video recently, and I was like, wow, like that was really um, like obvious. And like to me, whenever I was with him, like it just didn't occur to me that it was just so apparent to other people that he had such a pronounced disability. But I think because of that, um, he pushed himself so hard, and he talked about like not ever asking for help or handouts or anything like that. And so like that kind of attitude has stuck with me. And so it, me asking for help from somebody is just like hardly a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I usually just push through and do it on my own. And so like that that also I think affects my drive for being busy and working hard.
Do you want to talk about your father's passing at all, or the circumstances around it?
Um, no, like I he was really great. He was a really funny and charismatic person, and I really miss him. But I think that, well, I guess like my brothers and my mom, like they handled his passing a lot harder than I did. Not that I didn't love or care about him very deeply, but because I wasn't around as often, I came in and out in the last few years and saw how quickly um, how he what was that? He deteriorated very slowly, and he suffered quite a bit. And so I was more at the end, like I'm ready to let him go because I don't want him to continue.
Hello?
Oh, whoops.
Oh no, it's okay. You just cut out a bit. So I heard up to didn't want him to continue to suffer is my guess.
Yeah, yeah. Because it was like he did so a lot for our community, and he did so for my family a lot throughout his life. And I thought that this last 5-6 years where he was very very sick and he just kept pushing himself to stay, was I thought it was like too much. and it made me really sad. And so I kind of was the strength of my brothers and my mom
Mm.
in the last year, because it was about 3 weeks before he passed away that I noticed that he was going to go soon. And they were like, no, we need to keep praying, we need to keep like pushing, don't give up, and everything like that. And and it just, that wasn't I don't think fair to me. But so um so I think more prepared than them. I think they thought that he was going to have a like drastic turnaround or something, and so they were all very shocked, which I thought was um, really strange. Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you were saying that your work ethic comes from him?
I would say so. Yeah. Yeah. Like my mom, she did what I did, which is like work full time and go to grad school online. So like she did her master's through Dalhousie University, and so like she totally has inspired me to go farther and do more with myself.
Yeah.
But I think it was my dad who I saw that from early on, and like he was very independent. Whereas like my mother is like more of a dependent type of personality, and needs other people to be around her, and I really don't. Sometimes sometimes I get really lonely and then I need somebody, um, but for the most part, I've been on my own doing my own thing for the last like 7 or 8 years. Um, and I think that was something that he was like. Making him proud was one of my primary motivators as a younger person. Um, and so um, I never heard, or like I heard it a few times growing up, like him being proud of me, but I didn't hear it enough, I don't think, to like actually make me a totally secure person or a confident person. But he, um, yeah, being proud of me was a huge part of how hard I work.
Do you think a part of wanting to be busier and wanting to be more stressed is to continue to want to make him proud?
I think so, yeah. Um, yeah, yeah, I think it might be actually.
Mhm.
Um, I know that he had a thing for his sons. Like he wanted to, like my older brother and younger brother, Mick and Andy. They had because we were such a spiritual family too. Like they meant a lot to him for carrying on his traditions, and he just wanted them to like he wanted them to be really strong men. And I thought that there was at some point early on in my life with him, he gave me the impression that because I'm a woman, um, that I couldn't carry on some of the things that some of our traditions. So yeah.
Good time.
I guess yeah, that's a big part of it.
That makes sense. Um, what do you think that you do now that does make him proud or would make him proud if he was here?
Oh, I know that he was really proud of me. I know that in the last few weeks, he didn't tell me this, but he told one of his best friends. He's like, I'm just so worried about the boys, and I'm worried about my wife. And he's like, I'm not worried about Cam because I know that Cam can take care of herself. And so like that was something that his friend shared with me after he passed. And I know that like he felt that way about me too in life. And there was this one time where he said to my brothers, he was giving them crap about something, and was so upset with them, and he said, "Oh my God, you guys, like Cam should have been my son," and like. And I think that was like the closest to a compliment that I was gonna get from him. And so, but I think early on, like he had these really traditional boundaries between being a woman and being a man, and I was my daughter's, or my mom's daughter, and my brothers were his sons, and like he taught them how to be Cree men, and my mom taught me how to be a Soda woman too. And so it was a very there were some boundaries that were established early on, and so I think that he just kind of like took a back seat to everything, and wasn't ever going to give me that praise, because as much as I tried to do well in like the Western academic sense, it wasn't necessarily in the way that he had in like our traditional First Nations ways. And I think that was a little bit disappointing to him.
Mm-hmm. Do you practice First Nations traditions now?
I do, but not as closely as I'd like to. I still am just very, I'm pretty busy with everything. And like I had planned on going to one of our major summer ceremonies a couple weekends ago, but because I got my period, like that was something that prevented me from being able to go. And it happens once a year, and it was, again, like had to do with me being a woman, and not being, but just being too powerful to be around that situation. And so I wasn't able to attend this year, but I did go to the powwow this weekend, and I hope to go to more powwows. And we didn't like go to very many ceremonies without my dad, so that now that he's not here, my older brother's kind of taken over the manly duties of making sure that like our family is represented at those ceremonies. So he's kind of taken over that.
Would you like to incorporate more of your First Nations traditions into your goal setting? Like, would it help you feel more productive, more at peace with hard work?
I think so. I think, yeah, like that would actually be a really positive ways for me to feel connected to my dad too, I think. I know that, yeah, like he would be really, I know that was a huge part of what he tried to teach me growing up, was like being, he always like told me, you're never going to be like a Christian or a Buddhist or anything. This is always going to be who you are, and you need to like accept it. And I was like, I could do whatever I want, Dad. we had a pretty clashing, like we were so much alike that we clashed so much. But
other than the powwows, what do you think you could incorporate into your daily routine or weekly routine?
I think smudging more would make me feel better. I do have sage and in my house, but I don't dedicate enough time to that. And like it's just so simple. It's like for 2 minutes a day that I could just like smudge myself and like cleanse myself, my thoughts, and give thanks. And I think that's something that I do need to have in my day.
Mm-hmm. I think, especially with how excited you were at the beginning of the session about like reading books, just and how much you love reading, would it fit to do it kind of around reading a book, perhaps before or after?
Yeah, that would be actually really great. I've really got to be careful with that though, because like I could like read for about 4 or 5 hours straight. So I've got to be careful if I find like a book that's maybe too good, then or if I don't like the book, then I'll just never pick it back up. But I have to be careful with that one.
How many times a week do you think you'd like to smudging?
I think like at least 5 times a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's something that my brothers and my mom do like twice a day pretty much. I know before with my mom and dad and my brothers used to leave for work or leave for the day, they would have a quick smudge and just I think I could probably do that when I get home because my mornings are really quick.
Well, especially now that the internet's off.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to discuss this more next time we meet, if that's okay with you.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll just kind of discuss if you did add smudging into your routine and how the book reading is going and how the less phone time is going as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.